Welcome back to the Den of Nerds. I am Josh, and it's that time of the day, man. It's the daily show. It's when we get you up to speed and caught up with all the nerdy things going on in the world. And I'll be honest, this one's a weird one. This is a strange one. It is kind of like the calm before the storm. I am hours away from seeing Captain America: Brave New World, the latest Marvel Cinematic Universe entry. It's the talk of the town right now, and not necessarily in a good way. In fact, it's not in a good way. Frankly, it's in a bad way. And so with this movie, and with me going to see it relatively soon, basically just calm before the storm. I want to talk a little bit more about the reviews and just the situation that we're currently in as the fan base, as we all prepare to see it. I know a lot of people have seen it already in the community. In fact, let's do a little experiment. How many of you out there, throw a 1 into the chat, how many of you are going to go see it this weekend? Either today or tomorrow or over the weekend. How many of you are actually going to see it this weekend? I would love to know. I think most Marvel fans are in a similar boat right now. We're all in a similar situation. And that is to say, we are hoping that the movie is better than what the current RT score represents. We're hoping that maybe the critics are just being really mean. I mean, wow, you should see how many ones are going on here. If you're just listening on the podcast, lots of ones, lots of people going to check it out this weekend. That's good, because that means we're all in the same boat here, you know? So I want to get into that. I have some stuff to say. It's too early to make any like real calls about it. You know, I was having conversations this morning with my wife, and, you know, I was jumping to all sorts of conclusions, and I was saying this, that, second, and the third about, you know, Marvel's strategy or etc. Until I see the movie, I can't really speak too much to that. So I'm going to try not to like, I'm basically going to try not to consider that it's Jover, that it's so over. In fact, right off the bat, let me just bring this up for you, okay? Let me bring this up. This right here, if you're just listening, I have pulled up one of my tweets here, okay? And I tweeted a graph. And the graph is a big old squiggly line going up and down between we're back, it's so over, we're so back, it's over, bros, it's over for real this time. And I'll just show you guys where we're at right now. We're at this little blip right here. We're thoroughly past, we're back, and we're on the way to it's so over with major depression. Maybe, possibly. And I think the hope for Marvel fans is that we can climb back up to we're so back with Daredevil, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, etc. So it's a tricky spot to be in right now as a Marvel fan, but I do want to speak a little bit to that situation. I also want to talk about what we're keeping an eye on this weekend. Of course, the box office really freaking matters this weekend, also going into weekend 2. That'll be major data, just a big point as to where general audiences are actually at with the movie, with Marvel overall, and so we'll be looking into that for a lot of insight. There's a lot more to this conversation about Captain America, so this is basically just the beginning of the conversation, and we'll be able to talk more about it after we see it. So the current plan, ladies and gentlemen, is I will see this movie, and then I'm going to put together a little video for you tonight about how I feel about it, whether or not it's actually bad, whether it's good, what are my thoughts on it, what are my thoughts on Anthony Mackie's future, etc. So I'll be publishing that probably around 6 or 7. It kind of depends on how long it takes me to like get my thoughts out and get the edit out. So look for that later tonight. And then tomorrow we'll talk about it as well on stream. I've decided I'm going to keep it spoiler free tomorrow. And I'll keep most of the video tonight spoiler free as well. I will talk about spoilers later, and I'll do a spoiler video, like explaining the ending and talking about stuff like that. But for the most part, I think with this movie, and I think for tonight and for tomorrow on the show, the topic of interest will be, what did I think of it? What did you guys think of it? Is it really bad? What's going on, Marvel? So we will continue the conversation into tomorrow. And then next week into the following weeks, the conversation will be about the box office performance and how Marvel is doing overall. A couple other small things to get into today. There are rumors about Spider-Man 4, actually kind of really interesting Spider-Man 4 rumors due to a contest that Tom Holland or some company that's working with Tom Holland is doing. So Tom Holland kind of out here spoiling stuff again inadvertently. That's kind of fun. And then a small little tidbit that we might get some Daredevil Born Again stuff tomorrow. And you know what? You know what, guys? Let me ask you guys a question. Let's just begin. We're going to begin very interactive with chat. It's going to be more of a casual day. I don't even know how long we'll go for. We'll probably at least go for an hour, but it might be a shorter stream. I know you guys are used to like really long streams over here, so I apologize. This one might be a little shorter, given that I'm going to go see this film. But let me just throw a scenario at you guys, okay? Wouldn't it be interesting, chat? Wouldn't it be interesting if the lackluster reviews for Brave New World and perhaps a lackluster box office opening over the weekend, wouldn't it be interesting if some insane rumors, some absolutely crazy leaks came out for Marvel overall? Wouldn't it be wild if there was a big Daredevil Born Again promotional piece that dropped tomorrow? And wouldn't it be insane if all of a sudden all of the leakers and the scoopers started dropping some serious heat to try and, maybe quiet down the current conversation that's happening around Captain America Brave New World? I guess what I'm asking you guys is, would that surprise you? Would that surprise you? Because it wouldn't surprise me. In fact, I'm borderline expecting it. I'm actually expecting some really crazy news. It kind of reminds me a little bit of when there was a lot of bad news around The Flash. And if you'll remember, there was almost always a story about Batman ready to go. So whenever there was more problems with The Flash or more problems with Ezra, there would come out an article and be like, this Batman's going to be in there. This Batman's going to be in there, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm not really sure, but I would imagine tomorrow we'll be talking about Captain America Brave New World. But if I know Marvel Studios, I think we'll be talking about something else as well. So just keep a lookout for that. Who knows? Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it's not going to happen. But that's what I predict. That's what I think is going to happen. All right. So, shall we begin, ladies and gentle beings? Shall we begin? Should we get into the discussion today, and then we'll save some time for Q&A and stuff too, man. Definitely want to know what y'all have to say about this situation. So, let's pull it up. Here it is. Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes. Depending on your inflection choices. So it has gone up, for Captain America Brave New World. It has gone up. It's up to a 53% right now with 134 in. That's decent. I would imagine it could move even slightly up from here, but I highly doubt we're going to get to that 60. I think the 60, unless I'm mistaken, you guys help me out here. I'm pretty sure you need to get to a 60 to get a fresh tomato. Is that true? Is that what we're talking about here? I'm pretty sure that's what you need. You need to get to that 60% to get that fresh tomato. Okay, so, and Bianca, holy, thank you so much for the 5 gifted. I really appreciate all the support. I do think Bianca's just buttering me up so I go buy a car from her, though, which it's working. I'll probably go buy a car from her. Appreciate you. Yeah, so I highly doubt we're going to get up to that 60. I will say it is actually impressive that it went up at all. I think it debuted at 54, but then it quickly dropped lower than that. A lot of time yesterday was spent at 46, 47%. And I don't know, man. I mean, I guess in some ways the damage is done. I don't think it's going to get up to a 60. It would be crazy, though. And Marvel would probably utilize that and probably put it out there, etc. But I actually think that the damage might be done, and the initial score being as low as it was, and, even with some more scores coming in, I think we're sticking pretty low here, right? And it's kind of wild. Like, yesterday was a wild stream, It really was. It was strange. The initial social media reviews were pretty positive. We spent about an hour going through all of that yesterday, and I think most of us were feeling pretty good about it. I thought in the chat, I sensed a lot of energy of, oh, wow, that's better than I thought. Hell yeah. I'm excited. Let's go. And then the Rotten Tomato scores hit, and man, what a deflating situation. And I just, I wanted to say, and I wanted to speak on that a little bit, because I know, like, if we take a step back and we really think about what Rotten Tomatoes is, and this is, I'm absolutely certain there are people out there that want me to make this point, that want me to really focus on this aspect, right? So the aggregate score of Rotten Tomatoes is not really a review. It's like a recommendation mechanism. It's not really a review aggregate, right? And so it doesn't necessarily really represent how critics are feeling about the film, but man, I just got to say, I don't really think that matters, and I think that point is going to be completely lost, because even though I acknowledge that, even though a lot of people in the community acknowledge that and know that, man, yesterday, I saw the energy drop in the chat. I was in the Discord. We have a pretty active Discord. I was in there watching how you guys were talking and whatnot. I mean, we've got members of the community that their friend groups are canceling on them. We've got members of the community that are now 50-50 on if they're even going to go to the showing that they purchased a ticket for. Brothers and sisters, guys, we've got, it's not good, right? And so some of you guys yesterday were like, oh man, why do we even care about Rotten Tomatoes? Like, why does it even matter? Look, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying this is the way it should be, but Rotten Tomatoes really does have a massive impact on how fans feel about these movies. Like, that's just what it is, man. We kind of can't deny that that's what is happening here. And sure, the audience score absolutely matters, and it totally matters what the audience actually feels about it. And there have been plenty of movies in the past that the critics really didn't like, that the audience really did like. Totally. That's the thing. That's real. But at the end of the day, man, we got to face facts here, and we got to understand that, like, The reviews are bad. The Rotten Tomatoes score is bad. It was really bad when it first dropped. And that's devastating for the movie. That's devastating for the movie. That could actually, and I've seen it, it's anecdotal, right? But I've already seen that it is literally affecting how many of you guys are going out to see the movie, how many of your friends are going to go see the movie, how many times you're going to see the movie. It's so weird that this number and that this aggregate here really sucked the air out of the room. But that's what happened. That is absolutely what happened yesterday. And now Marvel fans sit here and we look at a terrible Rotten Tomatoes score and we think about the state of Marvel and we think about the narrative for this film. And man, I said yesterday in the video, because I did like a little video last night, just kind of breaking down my thoughts on the terrible reviews after, the stream where we thought maybe they would be decent and whatnot. And one of the things I said yesterday in the video was like, dude, you really shouldn't be doing this to your fans anymore, Marvel. I made a point yesterday, in mixed martial arts or in the UFC, if you don't get the job done in regular rounds, it goes to the judge's scorecard. Right? And I feel like Marvel should be going for the knockout with these types of movies and not letting it like go to the judge's scorecard essentially. And you look at something like Deadpool and Wolverine, right? Which, by the way, I don't even think Deadpool and Wolverine's like that great of a film. Like it's very thin, which is a criticism that's being levied at Brave New World as well, right? They're both probably paper thin as far as the plot. But I think the difference there, and I absolutely think that critics, like if you think critics just view movies without any kind of political thoughts or any thoughts of their own platform, fan base, or reputation, and they just every single time give you the objective opinion of what they're seeing, I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I think there's a lot more to it. And I think with a movie like Deadpool and Wolverine, I think the critics felt a pressure to give it a better score and to be nice to the movie. Because I think the critics literally saw that even though this isn't an incredibly good movie, this is a movie the fans are going to absolutely love. And this is a movie that people would be upset about if you gave it a bad score even before they saw it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if this point's coming across perfectly or not, but what I'm saying is Marvel needs to stop putting the fan base in a situation where we've been following the buzz and the reports about this movie for years, and the narrative about this movie has not been good. It's never, like, I don't know one time we ever heard, and sure, it's rumors and it's leaks and it's insiders, I totally get that, but we follow a lot of people that have really good track records. Not one time have I ever heard a glowing piece of information about this movie. Not one time did I ever get a report from an insider or a scooper that was like, yo, Marvel's so happy with this film. Oh my God, this is so crazy. People are going to be blown away. Never. The entire narrative about this movie from basically conception to all the way to now was misfires, missteps, mismanagement, blandness. And we don't know the full story of all of that. A lot of that stuff's behind the scenes. But it's really unfortunate. Like, I guess what I'm saying is, I'm not trying to be like a complete, total negative Nancy here. But it doesn't feel great to be a big fan of something, to have to cover the news surrounding a thing for years that says it's not really good, which, by the way, we did that for the Marvels, too. For 2.5 years, we covered the Marvels. All indications from all insiders was that it was a goobly glob mess. And then it's a goobly glob mess. You know what I mean? Like, you look at Joker 2, right? I was thinking about this, man. I was thinking about this morning. You look at Joker 2, you're talking about $1 billion franchise. First one's a phenomenon. And then you have the audience completely reject it like years later. How does that make sense? Look at the Marvels. It's like the same thing. The Marvels was $1 billion grossing movie, or the first one, Captain Marvel. And then you go to the next one, and it's the biggest bomb in the history of Hollywood. Well, what's the difference? Like, what's happening? I think part of it is obvious. I think that what's happening is the fans are like way more plugged in. They're way more plugged in. That's the only way you can explain a bunch of fans rejecting a movie like Joker 2. It's because the narrative around what that movie was started a long time ago. As we heard more and more about it, we heard that it really wasn't that great. We heard it might even be a slap in the face of fans. And then when the ending leaked, it was like the cherry on top. And essentially, that narrative just took over. And a lot of fans said, no. Like, that's the only explanation for it, really, if you think about it, right? So with Captain America, and I'm trying to caution, I want to caution everybody because I haven't seen the damn thing. I'm going to see it in a couple hours. I might like it a lot. I might come out here tomorrow and be like, the critics were wrong. This movie's a masterpiece, and like, you know, freak out and et cetera, et cetera. But for now, where I'm standing, it just sucks that as a fan, I have been hearing that this movie's trash for 2 years. I've been hearing nothing but like not great stuff about it. Been questioning delays, title changes, all sorts of things. And then the week that it comes out, right, it's 50% Rotten Tomato. It's a Rotten Tomato. That's not a great experience. You know what I mean? And you think about Fantastic Four and you think about Thunderbolts, right? Well, the buzz on both of those movies is actually incredible. I can point to different insider reports, different things that scoopers have said. Marvel internally, according to like the sense-making apparatus that we have as fans, Marvel internally is incredibly happy and satisfied with Thunderbolts. They're incredibly happy and satisfied with Fantastic Four. We heard Fantastic Four went off without a hitch. They might have even wrapped early. They nailed it. Like, they just nailed it. And apparently the movie has all kinds of crazy surprises and fun. Well, the narrative about what happened with Captain America was that they kind of stripped it of anything controversial and therefore left it kind of very milquetoast and very surface level and not deep in any way. That's the narrative. Like, that's been the narrative of what that movie went through. And it's just tough. And I think the studios are trying to figure this out. You know, obviously a lot has changed in the past 5 years. I mean, streaming, lockdowns, social media takeover, culture shifts, all sorts of stuff. I have empathy for the studio. I have empathy for the people there that actually just want to entertain and do cool shit. A lot of empathy for that. They need to figure it out. But all I can say is just like, as a fan and as somebody that does this for a living and is kind of like involved on like a pundit level or whatever, the biggest difference that I see from where we were at several years ago and where we're at now is that the audiences are super plugged in. They, it doesn't matter what Nate Moore says on a red carpet. Because like, even if we don't know what's going on, we don't necessarily know. The narratives are decided elsewhere. And the fans are plugged in a different way. Nobody gives a shit what you have to say on the red carpet. I mean, your own actors just lie and lie and lie about what roles they're in, et cetera, et cetera. Like the other week, Benedict Cumberbatch came out and said, I'm not in the next one. And although, that was a crazy moment and I lost my mind, my initial reaction to it was actually right. My initial reaction, if you remember, was like, he's not telling the truth or he's getting it wrong. And everybody was like, but he's the actor. And I was like, yeah, that's maybe the worst source if you really want the truth. Right? The point is, like, because of the way the studios and the actors and like everybody that like represents Marvel, because of the way they've been communicating with fans and because of the way the fans have been able to discern information and communicate amongst themselves, there's a big gap there. And I think Disney particularly has this issue because sort of ingrained in the culture of Disney, at least over the past 20 years, has been denying and downplaying any of the negativity. And it's almost like just kind of keep your head down and just succeed right through it. Disney has classically never actually wanted to hold the L and they do a lot of stuff to try to protect their image and pretend that they're always on the right side of things. And they really don't like holding the L, right? And I think that culture has somewhat permeated into these other studios like Star Wars, Lucasfilm, and Marvel. You know, because I think Marvel is very reluctant to hold the L and to realize what's going on. And I guess I would just say that I think they need to, because they don't really have a choice. Given where things are at right now, they really only have two choices. One is to just continue to look out of touch and like a liar and kind of like a gatekeeper. The other one is to just kind of like embrace it, hold the L a bit, have a little self-referential humor, and like move on. And we saw shades of that like around Deadpool. Like Deadpool just had a better vibe because it was really cool, it was really exciting, and also like Marvel put it out on Front Street that like you're joining at a bit of a low point, etc. Like they were sort of holding the L. Brave New World feels like they're not admitting what it costs. They're not admitting how much they reshot it. They just want to like push this idea of Sam as Cap. And I almost feel like this super hollow messaging from them that's like, you wouldn't deny Sam Wilson as Captain America, would you? You wouldn't go super hard on his movie for being mid because you want to support Captain America and Sam Wilson as Captain America, don't you? And I think that vibe sucks. And I don't like it. And I don't think they should continue doing it, right? Now, the conversation around Captain America has literally just started, okay? We got social media reviews. We got official reviews, Rotten Tomatoes score. It opens tomorrow. Today is previews day. A lot of us are going to go see it today, tomorrow, over the weekend. And we will continue the conversation based around what happens there. A couple of things to look out for, a couple of things that absolutely matter. First one, the audience score. You know? So right now, we have a pretty bad Rotten Tomatoes score. What's the audience score? There have been many movies in the history of Hollywood, a lot of nerdy movies, that have a low RT score, but a really high audience score. What's the audience score? What's the cinema score? How do the fans feel about this movie? That's actually important. You know, you look at a movie like Venom 3. A lot of people didn't like that movie. It's probably not that great, you know. But I actually had a lot of fun with Venom. I would have given it a positive review. I don't know, 6 or 7 out of 10, but positive. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Is that going to be the case for this movie? And will international audiences like it even more than maybe domestic audiences? Seems like that's a thing. That's a pattern that we've seen. That certainly happened with Venom 3. Could we see the international marketplace really give this thing a boost? That would be interesting. So I really want to see how the audiences respond to it. I think that's a very key data point. If it's high enough, that could be a good sign for Marvel. I think at this point with Marvel, they're going to be looking at all the stuff we're talking about today. They should be looking at all the data points. And if they see a really high audience score, that's a good piece of data they can hold on to. If they see a really low audience score, I'm sorry, but that's also data you need to look at. You really need to think about what you're doing if that happens, okay? So that's a piece of info. We're all going to be checking that out. And, of course, I want to know how I actually feel about it, and I become a part of, like, the audience score in that way. So, I'm really interested to see how it hits me, man. You know, I'm excited to check it out, get a big old thing of popcorn, just be chilling, you know. I like the movie-going experience, so I think I'll be primed to maybe go easy on it and like it. And, man, if I go out and spend all this extra money, take all this extra time, and it's really bad and it, like, really frustrates me, like Quantum Mania level, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm gonna not be fun tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be fun if that's what's going on. But if it can be middle to, like, decent, that would be really, really cool, okay? So I want to know how I feel about it. I want to know how the audience feels about it. That's a really important piece of data. The other thing that's really important is, of course, the opening box office. We've seen all sorts of projections. I think at one point it was projected between 85 and 105. I think it got projected up, then I think it got projected down. We're going to see. I think right now 185 million worldwide is the number, and around 90 domestic. We'll see if they can beat that. That would be great. If they can actually exceed that, that would be great. If not, that's gonna be bad. If it really comes in and underperforms, you would almost have to directly contribute that to the RT scores and to the bad reviews. Which, by the way, I think is fair. As much as we want to, maybe that's not fair. No, it is, man. I mean, these are the apparatus that people use to make sense of how to spend their money, what to go spend their time on. 53% on Rotten Tomato. If it were any other kind of movie, I would be mad skeptical. I would think it was mad sus if we were excited to see a movie and then we saw a 53% Rotten Tomato. Like, come on, think about how you would view it if you weren't a big Marvel fan. That sucks. So we got to see, how does the box office shake out, man? You know? That is very interesting. And if it's really good, that's obviously good. If it's really bad, that's really bad. That conversation will linger, though, into week 2 and into week 3, right? So, obviously, the first weekend into the second weekend, that drop-off, always a really big factor to decide what are the legs of this film, how is it going to end up, performing overall. Because, unfortunately, something we've seen in the marketplace over the past couple of years with movies is, dude, audiences can, really reject these things. We've seen crazy drop-offs, like Joker 2's drop-off was ridiculous. Craven's drop-off was absurd. So we could see an audience completely check out, drop off hard. But we've also seen the opposite. We've seen things do really well and actually trickle up, right? Guardians 3 is a great example of that. I think the Avatar movie was a great example of that. So it's interesting, the new consumer behavior, the patterns that people have. Fascinating, man. We'll see what the box office is this weekend, and we'll see what the box office is the next weekend and the weekend after that. I think, we've talked about this for months as well, right? I think we need to hit a 6 to 7 to be considered respectable. 600-700 million worldwide. I think we get up to 8 and to 9. You could call it a success. You might even be able to call it a hit. If you get up to the 8 or 9, it feels almost like that's the new billion. If this thing gets up to 800 or 900 worldwide, that's a hit, and it would, in my opinion, that level of success would kind of erase some of the questions and the negativity from the reviews themselves. So, gonna have to find out how that all shakes out, man. But Quantumania, that's a movie that actually opened up higher worldwide than what we're even talking about with Captain America. The big difference there was massive rejection, and then it ends close to 500 million, which was bad for Marvel, man. And that's a really bad movie. So there are all sorts of ways this could go. The Guardians 3 route, the Quantumania route, the Joker 2 route, which I think at this point it's already going to surpass what Joker 2 did. But yeah, so those are the questions. That's kind of what we're going to be looking at as far as this weekend, next weekend, etc. This conversation about Brave New World is just getting started. But we also have to admit that this is a terrible start to the conversation. This would be like introducing yourself and the person jamming their fingers into your eyes like it's a Three Stooges skit or some shit. This is bad. And now my eyes hurt. We could still have a good conversation, but this is a terrible start to a conversation, right? So that's kind of where we're at with all of that. And again, look, if you look at this chart here, just to kind of chart this for you, we have gone through We Are So Back, and we are dipping down into It's So Over. So we're just kind of on this train. And I think Marvel, we really want to get back here where we're so back. And they have plenty of heat, man. We've got Daredevil Born Again. We've got Thunderbolts. We've got Fantastic Four. Almost everything that Marvel has, almost everything that they are cooking seems cool, man. And seems more exciting and better than Captain America. Kind of sucks to say, but that is the truth. So I guess one of the things we're going to be looking at is how bad is this dip into It's So Over? How much will the drama or lack of success around this movie, how much will that just affect Marvel? This is such a weird question because it's kind of hard to say, and sometimes brand damage and fan fatigue can really snowball, and then all of a sudden it looks crazy. So, like, for instance, that's what happened with Star Wars. And I remember vividly, you know, because we did the Nerd Theory podcast, and I mean, we were just crushing it, and we were a huge part of the conversation around Star Wars. And I remember going through Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan, and I remember making the point several times that I think this is doing some serious brand damage. And at the time, like, it didn't really seem like it. Like, it was hard to quantify it then. Book of Boba Fett had massive viewership, and people were still checked in, but it was just, like, hurting the brand. And then Kenobi, same thing, like, massive numbers, but massive numbers that then were really butthurt about what they saw. And you don't really see that brand damage until, like, a year or two later. And I think what you can see with Star Wars right now is like, damn, it is like really bad. You know, you go from a show whose viewership was so low that they had to cancel it into another show that did even worse, and, you know, Skeleton Kids, etc. So sometimes these studios and this IP and the content, it can really do some damage that you won't actually see show up until a lot later on in the future. And that's a question about Marvel. Like, what is the damage over there? How is this happening? I've said this many times, but I think Marvel's in such an interesting spot because they were so big for so long, and they're still, I think, maybe the biggest thing in pop culture, right? Like, I truly wonder, do you think anything is bigger in pop culture right now? Even with all its problems, do you think there's anything bigger than Marvel? I don't really think so. And that's good and bad. You know, obviously it's good. They earned it, and they have a lot of fans that are sort of lying in wait, waiting in the wings, if you will. Fans that are aware of the brand, that have engaged with the brand before and have had positive experiences doing so. But unfortunately, you also, because you're the biggest thing, you come under incredible scrutiny. You know, your flaws get broadcast to everybody. You know, your slip-ups become massive news. Marvel's so big that there are entire news cycles based around what they're doing, whether they're doing well or not. That's like a tough spot to be in. And I don't want to, like, I keep feeling myself like jumping to the conclusions. Like, you seen Office Space? It's a jump to conclusions, Matt. You know what I'm talking about? Real ones know. I keep finding myself trying to jump to conclusions. And basically, I want to say they should have never made this movie. They should have canceled this movie, and they should have canceled a lot of other shit, okay? And I'm not trying to be super negative here, but my concern was always, and I got a lot of shit for this, you know, there are entire groups of fans and communities on the internet that think I'm toxic because I was vocal about canceling a lot of Marvel shit. And the reason I thought they should cancel some stuff is because I didn't want to get to a place like this. And I didn't want to get to a place like where we're at with Star Wars, where you've got a show in Skeleton Kids that people even like. Like, a lot of people liked it and said it was good, and it still didn't matter. So right now, Marvel's at a spot where, like, they can make some bangers, they can put out some good shit, but they also put out some goobly glob, they put out some mid. People are getting sick of it. I don't want it to get to a position where they put out something that's legit and it still gets shit on, people don't check it out, and that's like the death spiral, right? And we don't know for sure with regards to Captain America, but all I can say for now is, like, this is not a good spot to be in as a fan. I don't love what's happening right now, Kevin. And I don't want to follow the news cycle of a film for another couple of years that's negative, and then the week of the movie have it have terrible reviews. Like, I would just say, whatever you do and however you can look at this situation, please try to prevent years of discourse and coverage that's negative about a movie that then comes out and gets absolutely destroyed by the critics. That's not going to help anybody, and either way you slice that, it's not going to help. Okay? So I'm not saying that Captain America is a movie that should have been canceled. I might feel that way. We'll have to see. I'll see it later today. I'll let you guys know how I feel. But all I can say for sure is like, bro, I can't help but feel like the critics themselves would have gone a little easier on this movie if we hadn't had so many L's over the past several years, and if it didn't feel like Marvel was just a content factory that was going to put that shit out regardless, and you were going to sit there and like it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. We're really speculating. I feel like I'm flailing a little bit. I feel like, I don't know. I'm so nervous. I'm about to see it. I have all these questions. I love Marvel. I mean, I'll give you an example of something that happened yesterday, right? My manager hit me up with a story about Harry Potter. Okay. And look, it's all love and everything like that. But like, my man was trying to get me to talk about the new Harry Potter casting. Okay. So we're at a point where my people are telling me, like, bro, this shit might be cooked. Why don't you talk about Harry Potter? Harry Potter? Please, no. Please, God, no. Don't do it. Kevin, don't let it fall apart like this. Also, how do you guys feel about the Dumbledore casting news? Should we pivot completely into Harry Potter? Is it a Harry Potter channel now? Den of Harry Potter? Let me know. Let me know. But, I don't know. I just say all that to say, like, bro, it's not a good fucking... This isn't a good time. This isn't a good vibe. And maybe it'll be okay, and maybe all the stuff that's coming up is really great. But I think at some point, you like, if I were Marvel, I would, like, legitimately, if I was in charge, I would have canceled a lot more shit. I thought Agatha was really good. I thought Agatha really surprised me. Had some of the best writing I've ever seen in the MCU in that episode 7. Doesn't matter, fuck it, cancel it. Should have never come out. Echo, decent start, kind of cool. They're doing some interesting things. She's really good as an actress. Absolutely terrible finale. Doesn't matter, fuck it. Get it out of my face. Cancel that shit. Like, I don't know. I haven't seen Captain America yet. But, I mean, I'm about halfway to canceling that shit right now myself. You know? Like, there's only so much you could continue to do. You're making all these projects. You've had so much mid. It just doesn't feel right that you would spend all this money, you know, have this thing in production for years and years and years, and then deliver what you delivered. Which, regardless of how it hits the audiences, it hit the critics in such a way that now we have spun into a whole new conversation. You know? Not a good job. Not great. And, you know, at some level, do I feel bad for Anthony Mackie? Sure, absolutely. Anthony Mackie's cool. But, like, also, brother, I'm probably never going to meet Anthony Mackie. I'm not going to spend any time with Anthony Mackie. You know what I do every day? I spend time with you. I spend time getting out here on this camera in front of this microphone, and I talk about this Marvel shit. So I got to say that although I feel bad for Anthony Mackie, I feel way more bad for fucking me, myself, this guy, me. Because I have to fucking deal with this shit, and I got to talk about it, and it's a bummer. And I got to sit out here and try to carry water for a goddamn cinematic universe that's currently shitting the bed. So I would prefer if we didn't have to do that anymore. Please get your shit together. Please get your house in order. And the next time you have a movie and you're like, well, we could do Harrison Ford as Red Hulk. That might get people interested. Maybe consider that the Genesis idea, the first thing that doesn't work on its own without Harrison Ford Red Hulk, maybe it's not a good enough idea. Maybe it's not an interesting enough character. Maybe it's not a cool enough concept. Please make shit past the smell test. What the fuck are we doing here? I'm going to lose it. Let's leave that idea and concept there, because I can feel myself starting to get frustrated and jump to conclusions. I haven't even seen the movie. Let's leave it there. put a pin in that. We will talk more about it tonight, and we'll talk more about it tomorrow. Okay. Now, a couple other things before we get into Q&A. Couple of other things. Let's talk about Spider-Man 4. This is wild. Check this out. I thought this was pretty funny. So we have this here. This is a company called Brothers Trust, which I think is actually, is this, Nikki and Dom Holland, the parents of, so this is the parents of Tom Holland, okay? There's a Meet Tom Holland in London on the set of Spider-Man 4 thingy here, okay? This is cool, but you know what this also did? This confirmed that Spider-Man 4 is shooting in London over the summer. So now, based on, it's just like funny, man. Like Tom always spoiling shit, his own family spoiling shit. Like, who cares? Definitely not them. So this confirms that Spider-Man 4 is shooting through the summer in London. Now, what I think this also means is they'll probably schedule this thing so that Holland will come in, film about a month on Doomsday. He'll film some really important scenes. They will film a lot with a body double for most of the shoot, because I think the entire shoot's like 3 or 4 months for Doomsday. Tom Holland will come in and shoot about a month on Doomsday, and then he'll roll right into shooting Spider-Man 4 throughout the summer. A lot of mystery about Spider-Man 4. It's a big Battle World movie. It's going to be massive for the MCU. It's really important. But that, because of how busy Tom is, he's shooting the Odyssey and stuff like that too. This is probably what the schedule is. You know, a month of Doomsday right into Spider-Man 4. Maybe they'll even shoot some of the Spider-Man 4 stuff on the Doomsday set, because we've heard rumors that like RDJ is actually going to be in Spider-Man 4 as well. But just add this to the list, guys, because I think part of what's so exciting for us, you know, frankly, and thank God that this is all happening, because it's way more interesting to talk about than Captain America 4. The thing that's really cool is like Doomsday through the summer into Spider-Man 4. So many rumors, leaks, set photos, pieces of information, interviews with actors, social media posts. It's a juicy time, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait for that time period, and I'm really excited to cover all of that stuff, and I think it'll be a better vibe. I think we'll be vibing. We'll be having fun. Maybe we'll be a little confused, because it seems like there's a lot of wild shit happening in Spider-Man 4 too. But overall, I'm pretty excited. So I wanted to bring this news to you. And hey, maybe you should enter. I think it's for a good cause. And maybe one of you guys will go meet Spider-Man 4 and you can ask him about Bureau. You know? So that would be kind of hype. Now, one last little piece of information here. This is Demet. She is the editor-in-chief of Nexus Point News. And she is indicating that we will get new footage of Daredevil Born Again this Friday. And as I said before, new footage. Ooh, she says yes. So, as I said before, I wouldn't be surprised, considering the narratives around Brave New World. I wouldn't be surprised if Marvel had some stuff cooking. And tomorrow, we're probably going to get a look at Daredevil, maybe a new TV spot or a trailer or something. That'll be juicy. That'll be fun. That'll be exciting to talk about. And it'll shift the conversation a little bit. So I think that's cool. And I've also heard crazy rumors that there's other leaks and reports on the way. So that's what I got for you today. Let's get into the Q&A. Let's just hang out a little bit in chat. A little bit of a shorter one today, because I think it's just the calm before the storm, and I think we're all just thinking the same things. We don't know for sure. We have to see the movie. We can continue this conversation into tomorrow. So I'm excited for that. So let's break it in to the Q's and the A's. I'll go over the super chats, member chats, all that. We'll hang out on the chat a little bit as well. And then we're going to call it a day. And then I'm going to go see Brave New World. Can you believe it? First in today was Cantina Talks. Member for 5 months. Hey, I really appreciate it. Says, did the RT score go down overnight? Yeah, I think so. Didn't it start at like 54%? Let's see where it's at right now. It's at 53% right now. Yeah, it went lower. I think at one time it was down at like 46, 47. Kind of not that great. You know, to be honest, not that great, but it is what it is. Bianca, again, thank you so much for the 5 gifted memberships. Appreciate you. Braden says, seriously, genuine question. How many more MCULs can we realistically take before this community goes in another direction in terms of nerdy content? Well, you know, look, I think in some ways it's a tough question because look, I don't want to get hyperbolic. I think one of the things that's interesting about being such a fan and being so passionate about it is like it can go either way. We can get really excited, and I think that chart is relevant, right? Like we kind of ebb and flow between we're so back and it's so over. That is the current experience of Marvel fans. And I think that's just real. Like we go from like it's over, and I understand the energy that Braden is saying, and I understand his thoughts there, but I bet Braden will be back for the next one. And when it's back to we're so back, we'll all be really excited, and that can persist. I guess the main question is like, is Marvel ever going to feel like we're back to batting more like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10? Is it ever going to like truly feel that we're like hitting on all cylinders? We can expect something incredible most of the time when we engage with the content. That is maybe a different question. So how many more MCULs can we realistically take? I think the answer to that question has more to do with how many W's and how big of W's are given to us in between the L's. I think that's the answer. And the other thing I would say is Warhammer. It's Warhammer. Don't worry. We're all going to shift and get into Warhammer. And I've already started to convert people. I will convert you as well. And we will all be sitting around in Warhammer streams, doing Warhammer podcasts, making Warhammer videos. It's all about Warhammer, baby. Warhammer's the next big hot shit. Let's go Warhammer. Elliot H. says, if this movie bombs, do you think they'll pivot? I personally think if they wanted to get past the torch, it should have been to Bucky, an actual super soldier. This is an interesting question. There's many factors here. First of all, what the audience score? Second of all, what's the box office, right? Right now, it seems like most of the critics reject the movie. How do the fans feel? Do the fans reject the movie? Do the fans reject Anthony Mackie as Cap? I mean, let's just say something that like is just true. It's possible Sam Wilson has zero aura as Captain America. Okay? We don't know for sure. I'm going to have to check it out myself. But I think that's kind of the question is like, do we really want a zero aura having Captain America? And take out any other consideration, take out any other point, take out any other idea, strip it down to that simplistic of a question. Do we want the Captain America of the MCU to have zero aura? I don't think we do. So if Sam Wilson or maybe Anthony Mackie has zero aura as Captain America, then no, I don't want him as Captain America. Now, there's a chance that they want to do something cool with like Sam Wilson and Steve Rogers. And I think the honest to God truth is you're getting more Sam Wilson, whether or not you like it. You might get less if this movie does worse, but you're getting Sam Wilson. You know, he's going to be a part of the Avengers in Doomsday. He's potentially going to be a part of Secret Wars as well. And I do think you'll see him and Steve Rogers, Captain America, side by side. The question is, though, where do we go from there, right? And I bet, like, what I think they'll probably do is they'll bring Steve back, they'll keep Sam, and they'll just kind of like build up both characters or whatever. And also, it's really more about the X-Men. So the real question is, who's Scotty Summers? Who's Cyclops? because X-Men 97 showed us that Scotty Summers can have aura and he can kind of like be that guy. And I think we're about to get into the X-Men stuff. Like, bro, it's so much more important. Like, what's Gambit like? Is there a new Wolverine? What's he like? What's Scotty Summers like? What's Professor X like? What's Magneto like? Like, those characters have aura and we need it. And I guess, like, the way I would say it is, like, if this movie actually shows signs of life and if people are really into it and they really respond to it, we're talking about, audience score, money, box office, then, yeah, I would obviously continue to do Sam. But, like, dude, here's the thing that's so frustrating about Marvel right now, and it feels like this is attached to their comic book stuff, too. It's like, brother, find me the people that really like Brie Larson's Captain America, and it's a small group of people. Like, I'm sorry, it just is. I don't like her as Captain Marvel. You know what I mean? So at some point, like, as a fan, I feel, stop trying to make fetch happen, man. Like, I don't like it. You know, at least they had the decency to kill off Natalie Portman's Thor, because that shit was whack. And now she's, like, we don't have to worry about that. Although she's in Valhalla, maybe she'll come back, and then we can all be like, what the fuck? But for now, like, she's gone. Right? Like, I guess I'm so far off on a fucking tangent here. I'm sorry. But the question was, if it bombs, do you think they'll pivot? I think they'll pivot if people are not responding to Sam as Cap. I think they'll pivot. My concern is, though, that they won't pivot in a super overt way and they'll keep Sam around. And it's like, dude, the thing that kind of sucks about that is, like, it's lame. And it feels like y'all just want to keep the lame character around because you can't admit that you fucked it up or that you failed to make it cool. Like, can I say something? It's obvious Marvel wanted Sam as Captain America to work and for fans to really like it. But whose fault is it ultimately that they did not pull that off? If they didn't, it's their fault. Like, bro, viewership isn't charity. Fandom isn't charity. Like, I'm not going to feel like rooting for Sam Wilson because I'm told that's what I should do to be a good guy. I don't give a shit about that. Like, and that's not what fandom is. And like, look, as an example, you think about wrestling, you know, it's probably like a weird pivot or whatever, but I think for some of you, you'll get where I'm going with this. Think about wrestling. Sometimes you have a heel and the heel just gets over with the crowd. I saw this happen live. For a while, I was doing local wrestling in my small town. Just a couple, like less than 100 people often there. Just, you know, small thing, but it was still dope as hell. I had a good time. The point is, I watched this guy come in. He was from out of town. He was like in a different federation or some shit. And he came in, and for whatever reason, I saw the crowd start to become over on this guy, and they started to like this guy. And they pivoted, and they did a whole arc where he, like, betrayed the out-of-towners and helped the home team and then became champion and, like, totally flipped and all this sort of stuff. The point is, like, some of this is out of your control. Sometimes you just got to see how the crowd responds, and then you pivot accordingly. Like, another example, you know, is the show Lost. Y'all ever seen Lost, right? So I think it's, what was the main dude's name? I think his name is Matt or whatever, right? Like the main white dude, the guy that had the buzz cut and he was like the main character. That guy died in the pilot. When they shot the pilot, that character died. And then they got so much feedback that people liked that character that then they changed it and they kept him around. Oh, Jack was his name. Okay. Yeah, like that's the point is like, dude, some of this is out of your control. And it feels like a little bit. It feels like a little bit that Disney and Marvel is like, it's actually not outside of our control. You just don't get it yet. And that feels preachy. It feels elitist. It feels out of touch, you know? And all those vibes, by the way, fuck those vibes. Like, I'm sorry, like, you could maybe make some kind of nuanced argument and explain to me, like, why this matters and it's important and this, that, second, and the third. But, like, fandom is a baseline reptilian brain thing. Like, I'm either fucking with you heavy or I think your shit sucks. Like, do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, dude, I would much rather just be fucking with you heavy and be excited about like cool and dope stuff that's going on, right? So I hope they do pivot. I am concerned though, and I think this is a criticism of like Disney and Marvel in general, is like they don't want to be seen to be holding the L. That's why they haven't canceled anything, because they had conversations about canceling Echo. And they decided not to, you know? So it's that's unfortunate. Vandolph the Black says, bro, thank you for keeping it 100, because my normie Marvel fans are just putting me to task. They have zero tolerance for these movies. I can't even buy their tickets. They just won't go. Yeah, man. I saw you talking about it on the Discord. It sucks, man. I mean, look, like, come on. Like, guys, that's not cool. Like, Vandolph's been here a lot. You know, he's a big member of the community. We've gone through a lot, you know, ups and downs of Marvel. We talked about this, that, second, and the third, Star Wars, all that. We're all nerds. I mean, I don't think you subscribe and then pay to be a member of a channel called The Den of Nerds and hang out all the time, unless you're a big nerd. You really like it. You're really into it, right? So, like, Vandolph is the guy that's, like, primed to not only like this stuff, but to, like, go to bat for it, to get his friends and family involved and to get people to go check it out. And, like, he can't even buy the tickets for his friends to go see the movie. Like, and that's just one example. That's anecdotal for sure. But, like, we're kind of all over here like, Marvel, like, y'all are making us look bad. Like, for real, you're making us look bad. I have a goddamn channel, and I run, like, my whole business runs around covering Marvel, covering these things. Y'all are making us look bad, bro. You're making it look bad. You're like, wait, what are you, like the last guy on the internet that still really loves Marvel and gives a shit and tries to cover it and all that? You're making us look bad, brother. Come on, Kevin. Nick Gallo says, my expectations are low and I haven't seen it. I heard about the PC scene and it's cool, but underwhelming. Hoping that they set up the next Avengers. Yeah, I've seen the post-credit scene. It looks terrible. Hopefully there's more context to it within the film itself, because like just on its own, that seems absolutely terrible. I understand what it represents and it is cool what it's foreshadowing, but my God, out of all the different ways you could set up what is coming, a scene like that, dude, it feels so like Vulture and Morbius. It feels so cringy. It feels so just last minute ass pulled together. Like, hey, you got 5 extra minutes? Let's run cameras over here. Like, it feels so bad. Come on, man. Come on, man. Javis says, after trying 3 times, I finally finished Falcon and the Winter Soldier years later. Compared to the projects that followed, I ended up not hating it. How the bar has lowered. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I really dislike that show. I haven't seen it in a long time. I don't think everything in it was terrible. You know, ironically, a lot of the racial stuff I thought was brilliant. I thought was handled really well. So it's weird because the show handled that well. I thought it was nuanced. I thought it was cool. It's just like everything around it is so either whack or empty or hacked together. Oh, God. And that finale was so bad, bro. That finale was so bad. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Holy. But, yeah, somehow it gets worse afterwards. Can you believe it? Cantina Talk says, I feel bad for the fans. Yeah, I mean, I'm one of them. Feel bad for me. Nightshade Yoda says Den of One Piece. Oh shit, should it be One Piece? Look, it was almost anime. I love anime, man. I love anime. I watch a shit ton of anime. I almost went all in on anime, but honestly, it just came down to I love Warhammer more. I'm not saying Warhammer's more popular. I think anime is probably more popular. Anime, there's probably more interest, but I just love Warhammer, so I'm gonna do Warhammer. You know what I mean? And I will do everything I can with all the platform and social media imprint that I have to bring as many people to Warhammer as possible. We need to make Warhammer into the next big thing. Come on. Help me out. Alex says, Disney cut DEI days ago affect critic score a little. I highly doubt that, man. I mean, maybe a little bit. But I highly doubt that. I mean, I think, you know, I don't really like to talk too much about like the DEI stuff and all that sort of stuff. I think a lot of that stuff had good intentions, but I think people are silly and I think people want power and a lot of it gets all mishandled and becomes really weird. But I think within that conversation, there's the reality that a lot of people actually didn't really care too much about that sort of stuff, meaning whether they're on the right or the left, they actually didn't care as much as they pretend to. And so the offices being eliminated, sure, some people are going to be upset about that. Some people will make noise about that, maybe do an angry tweet, but ultimately they're just going to get back to their lives. I don't really think it's something they're going to take all that much objection to. And I wouldn't assume it would be something that people would get so fired up about they're going to try to take it out on the company. It feels like a lot of the culture sort of shifting around that. So I don't know. I just have trouble believing that that's actually a part of it. El Rilio says, will I ever be knighted? We might never know. Well, guess what? You are a Nerdvenger now. Welcome. Dave Does That says, last night's member stream was awesome. Love y'all. Dude, it was a great time, man. Thanks to everybody that showed up last night. We had some drinks. We played some Marvel Rivals together. I got 2 MVPs. Oh, man, I was killing it. The MVP game that I had with Iron Man, I was in the fucking zone, bro. I was Tony Stark. I was like, Jarvis, let's do this. Like, it was nuts, man. So, yeah, I had a great time. It's always good hanging out with the community. James says, going to see it tonight for my birthday. Hope I don't fall asleep. Nerdvengers for life. Much love to the Nerdvengers. Hey, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm going to see it in a couple hours. In fact, I do have to get out of here relatively soon because I got to go pick up my car, get some stuff ready, and then head out to the movies. Gotta head out to the movies. Steve gave people a dream. Sam gives people inspiration. I mean, maybe. We'll see. Scott says, the dialogue in the post-credit scene, not very good. No. It's not. Brian Davis with a 5-spot, but no message. I appreciate it. Thank you. RF Gaming Channel says, my 15-year-old son has a group of friends seeing Cap 4. They're all excited and have been down on the MCU for a while. The MCU needs this audience. I agree with you, and hopefully it's good enough that they find something they enjoy and they have a good time. Some of this is preemptive, man. I tried to say it a couple of times today, but like I'm trying not to jump too far ahead. I haven't seen it. My opinion could change drastically once I've actually seen the film. But I also like just want to, because like part of me was like, should I even stream today? Like, should I even come out here and do a stream because I'm about to see the movie? What am I going to do? Just talk about the current place that I'm at as a fan? I guess I'll do that. And this is just honestly where I'm at as a fan. It just doesn't feel great to be looking at that RT score, having followed the narrative of the movie for years and not being super excited to go see it and feeling trepidatious. That's not cool. That's not a good place to be as a fan. So yeah, but having said that, I still haven't seen it. Right? So I might, tomorrow's stream, it could go many different ways. I might be out here being like, it's the best goddamn thing ever. And, you know, very excited and hyped. But, yeah. C Black says, Feige didn't show up at the Cap 4 premiere. He knows. Is that true? Holy. Is that true, C Black? I mean, maybe he was busy. But still, that's a terrible sign. Is that actually true? Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, boy. And then Rossi with a $2 hauler says, $12.29 for my car because of the rectangle. Ben! Yeah, so if you guys didn't know what happened yesterday, Rossi was attacked by geometry. And a lot of the shapes came after him. A lot of them missed, but the rectangle hit his car. And the rectangle messed his car up pretty good. And apparently he now has to spend over $1,200 to fix his car because of geometry. Damn. That's tough. Not true he was there? Okay, well, that's good. That's good. It's good that he was there if he was there then. I'm happy about that. Feige was at the Marvels premiere, so that's true. That's true. That's true. Do I think the controversy with the Israeli character will hurt the movie even more? It's kind of hard to say. I mean, I don't know. I'll say this. It doesn't help the narrative. There's a lot of people online, and you know, I get it. It's an important issue, and I think people care about it, and I think people think that a lot of studios and just institutional things within America are not giving it any actual coverage or mind, right? You have an Israeli character in there in the comics. She's an Israeli soldier. I think the actress is an Israeli soldier, and I've seen a lot of the attitude online of like, man, it sucks this movie's failing for Anthony Mackie, but it's good for Palestine, and it's like, all right. I mean, I guess if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. I don't know how much that actually affects the box office. If I'm being honest, it feels like those are the same people that all said they would show up for the Marvels, and they didn't. So it's hard to say if any of that Twitter stuff is like real. Like, does that actually mean people are not going to the movie or trying to get others to not go to the movie? I guess we'll see. I mean, you know, it can't help. Probably doesn't help. You know? So, Joshua Kimba Bluegrass says, currently finishing up a job, then I'm going to go watch it. Y'all will get my honest review in tomorrow's chat. Hell yeah, brother. Appreciate you, man. And, yeah. I thought they took out most of Sabra's scenes, though. They did, but it's still not good enough for some people. At least that's what I'm, like, that's the impression I'm getting. So, yeah. Rossi says, all the maths hate me, not just geometry. Oh, okay. That's good to know. That's good. Kaylin J says, these last 3 episodes of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man were incredible. I see why it got renewed for another season. Absolute cinema. Well, you know what? I'm actually glad to hear that. Maybe later tonight, after I see the movie, after I do the video, after I'm just sitting there, maybe tonight I'll get into some Spider-Man. I watched Invincible earlier. That episode was awesome. Really liked that episode of Invincible. If the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man stuff is lit, that'll make me feel a lot better. You know what's interesting? Man, what movie was I think it was Quantumania. Guys, I hated Quantumania so badly that I came home and had to watch Winter Soldier. I think Elisa and I threw on Winter Soldier because I needed a palate cleanser. Like, that's how much I hated it. I really hope that's not the experience I have with Brave New World. We're going to find out really soon. But maybe Spider-Man will be my palate cleanser. That could be good. Appreciate you, Caitlin. Dom Silva says, Josh, are you getting the Shield popcorn bucket or the helmet popcorn bucket? P.S. I try to catch every day, and I appreciate how you keep it real. Much love. Hey, thanks, man. The first super chat, too. Appreciate you, Dom. I'm not sure what my theater has. That's the honest answer. I'm not sure what my theater has. I do want to get something. I want to get something cool. I like spending the money for the nostalgic popcorn bucket. I got a bunch of them back there. So I don't know which one they'll have. I hope it's cool, though. C-Dub says, did you listen to Liv Tyler's red carpet interview when she calls him Kevin Feige? I did not, but I know a lot of people used to call him that. People didn't know how to pronounce his last name. And then he became one of the most successful producers in the history of Hollywood. And people were like, I think I'm going to learn how to pronounce that name. But yeah. Kevin Feige. I bet Kevin Feige was disappointed in the film, and that's why he didn't do the interview. I mean, it's hard to say. Maybe. I mean, you know what else is kind of wild about this, too? Like, didn't Nate Moore literally get fired for this movie? Like, I don't know if that's ever been directly confirmed, but, like, isn't that kind of like the word on the street? Like, isn't that kind of the word on the street that, like, Nate Moore literally got fired because Brave New World was a disaster? Maybe not. Maybe I'm getting that wrong. That's what I thought. That's what I thought I heard. Who knows for sure? But anyway, everybody, hey, look, I really appreciate y'all. Thank you for being here. Thanks, nice stream, over 900 people watching again. I feel like the streams are going well. I know that there's been a lot to talk about, and we've been really interested in a lot of Marvel stuff recently. Fantastic Four trailer, Thunderbolts, and now Captain America Brave New World. We're going to go right into Deadpool, or rather Daredevil. And Daredevil, I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be a good time. That'll be hyped up for the community. But just in general, I really appreciate you. If you're watching this live, I appreciate you. If you're listening on the podcast feed, I appreciate you. Going to continue to make improvements over here. I want to continue to put out good stuff for you guys, but also make it more entertaining, more polished, more fun. So a lot of ideas I'm cooking with. And we'll talk tomorrow. We'll talk tomorrow about this movie. Hopefully I enjoy it. Hopefully I can speak positively about it, because if not, it might get real toxic tomorrow. I would hate for that to happen. Javier Mendez says, much love with a $2 holla. Appreciate you. Thank you. I'm going to get on out of here, everybody. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video. Is everybody gone? Did everybody leave? Leave. Oh, man. Oh, man. Please be good. Oh, man, I want to be blown away. I want to be like, oh, damn, that was real cool. Anyway, appreciate you. You guys are awesome, man. Thank you for being here. Hope you're getting some entertainment at the very least here. And again, video tomorrow or tonight. Do you see yourself walking out of the theater? I hope not. Oh, that would be devastating. So, first reaction to the movie, I will drop that on the main channel later tonight. And tomorrow morning, we'll talk about it. Probably no spoilers on stream tomorrow, but it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Either way, we're going to do the damn thing. Hell yeah. Jay Velasquez says, I really appreciate you, Josh. Streams vary in length, but you're always giving us incredible content. And I definitely am not worried that you're making the stream shorter and shorter. You know what, Jay? I really appreciate that. Not everybody is as calm and understanding as you are. You know, I know there have been some changes around here, but I appreciate people like you, Jay, that just get it, understand it, support it, and are going to be here no matter what. Thank you. As to the rest of you, do me a favor. Open up your third eye and wash out your stinky Jay Velasquez. I mean, your stinky butthole. See you later.
Bench press proves nothing. You really want to know who's stronger. Bavarian arm wrestling.
Never heard of it.
Get behind that preacher bench. Elbow on the pad. Put your arm out like we're gonna arm wrestle, then make a fist. I'm gonna grab your fist and try to pull it down to the pad while you try to stop me. Just your strength against mine.
Easy.
3, 2,